Top 10 greatest WWE rivalries of all time. John Cena versus Randy Orton, a rivalry that defined a generation too. Future Hall of Famers, one relentless rivalry, no escape. This wasn't just a rivalry, it was the backbone of modern WWE. John Cena and Randy Orton were the faces of a new era, both rising during the ruthless aggression years and both pushed as the top stars. But only one could truly claim the top spot. From 2007 to 2014, they clashed over 20 times on pay-per-view, from Iron Man matches to Hell in a Cell, tables matches, and every other stipulation you could imagine. The feud never lost steam. It kept evolving. Cena played the hero, while Orton was the Viper, always finding a way to slither back into the picture. In the ring, their chemistry was electric. They knew each other's moves like the back of their hands, counters, finishers, and storytelling that kept the crowd on the edge of their seats. You could predict what was coming next, but it never got old. RKO counter, attitude adjustment, kick out, and they did it over and over, and it was still thrilling every time. This wasn't just a rivalry for the history books, built legacies. Without Orton, Cena wouldn't have become the face of WWE, and without Cena, Orton wouldn't have had the chance to become the legend killer turned world champion. This wasn't just the biggest feud of their careers, it was the rivalry that defined an entire era. The Undertaker versus Kane, brothers of destruction turned enemies. Blood made them brothers, fire made them rivals. It started like something out of a nightmare. In 1997, Kane stepped through fire and revealed himself as the Undertaker's brother, the one he thought he'd left behind in the past. The secret came to life, and suddenly, the dead man was face to face with his own guilt, rage, and blood. Their first match at WrestleMania 14 was a war. Kane took 2 tombstones and still stood up. It took a third to put him down, but it was never just about pinfalls. It was personal. From Inferno matches to buried alive bouts, their battles were like horror films told in the ring. Big, bold, and unforgettable. Every time they clashed, it felt epic. Taker had the aura. Kane had the fury. Together, they told stories that felt larger than wrestling. Stories about family, revenge, and redemption. Kane was the perfect contrast to Undertaker, and Undertaker gave Kane the credibility to become a monster on his own. They didn't just fight, they made each other matter more. What made it special was the emotion underneath the chaos. Brothers torn apart by fire, fate, and betrayal, always finding their way back to each other, whether as enemies or allies. Theirs was a bond that even bloodshed couldn't fully break. Their rivalry was pure wrestling magic. Dramatic, emotional, and absolutely unforgettable. Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. WrestleMania 40's power shift legacy versus ego. Old guard versus the new era. This one came out of nowhere, but it hit like a storm. Cody Rhodes was finally set to finish what he started. Fans were behind him. The momentum was real, and everything was lining up. Then out walked The Rock, not to pass the torch, but to block the path. It wasn't just about Roman anymore. The story changed overnight. Cody wasn't just chasing a title. He was fighting for the future of WWE. And The Rock? He turned from fan favorite icon to the symbol of everything Cody needed to overcome. WrestleMania 40 became a war between eras. The tag match on night 1 was pure electricity. Every punch, every stare, every tag, it all meant something. The energy in the building was unreal. You could feel fans picking sides in real time. And when Cody finally pinned Roman on night 2, it felt massive. He didn't just win, he earned it. The Rock's return, the promos, the heat, the drama, it all led to that moment. This wasn't a rivalry built on titles or tradition. It was about control, about who really runs this place. The Rock lit the match, but Cody proved he's the one holding the torch now. The Undertaker versus Triple H. End of an era written in pain, respect, rage, and the weight of legacy. This one didn't need a belt. It didn't need weekly promos or cheap shots. What it had was weight. 2 legends stepping into the ring with everything they had left. It started at WrestleMania 27. No titles, just pride. Triple H came out swinging, determined to do what Shawn Michaels couldn't. He took Taker to the edge. Steel chairs, sledgehammers, near falls, but still, the dead man stood tall. Barely. A year later, they ran it back. WrestleMania 28. Hell in a Cell. The end of an era. Shawn as the special referee. Fans didn't just watch that match. They felt it. Every slow rise, every stare, every moment in that cell told a story of pain, history, and respect. It wasn't about wins anymore. It was about legacy. When the bell rang and the 3 of them walked up the ramp together, it hit different. No music, no trash talk, just silence, and a sense that something important had truly ended. Triple H brought the fight. Taker brought the mystique. Shawn brought the emotion. Together, they gave us one of the most honest matches in WrestleMania history. They didn't just close a chapter, they slammed the book shut on an era we may never see again. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, the battle for the throne brute force met cold ambition, and the entire era shifted. This wasn't just 2 powerhouses clashing, it was a years-long fight for the top spot in WWE. Roman was the chosen one. Brock was the unstoppable beast. and every time they met, it felt like the company's future was on the line. It started in 2015 at WrestleMania 31. Roman was still earning respect. Brock was dominant, violent, unbeatable. And then, Seth Rollins cashed in. The match didn't end the rivalry. It sparked it. They clashed again. Steel cages, triple threats, chaos. Every time the story was simple. Roman had to prove he could beat that guy. Brock didn't talk much. He didn't need to. Roman talked with his fists. By WrestleMania 38, the stakes couldn't be higher. Title for title. The tribal chief versus the alpha male. This time, Roman wasn't the underdog. He was the head of the table. And when he finally pinned Brock, it wasn't just a win. It was a coronation. These two don't need long promos. They don't need gimmicks. Their story is told in the ring. Brute force, near falls, and power moves that shake the ring. Roman versus Brock became the modern version of Hogan versus Andre, a fight for the throne. And this time, Roman claimed it for good. Hulk Hogan versus Randy Savage, brotherhood turned betrayal from allies to enemies, and the madness in between. At first, they were untouchable. The mega powers, Hogan with his red and yellow energy, Savage with his wild eyes and unmatched intensity. Together, they were the face of late 80s wrestling, but you could always feel it coming apart. The tension started small, side eyes. Miss Elizabeth stuck in the middle. Savage didn't trust Hogan's brotherhood, and fans started noticing it too. Then it exploded. Backstage jealousy spilled into the spotlight. Savage snapped, and just like that, the mega powers were done. WrestleMania 5 wasn't just a title match. It was personal. Every punch from Savage felt like a message. Every reaction from Hogan stirred the crowd. The story told itself. A friendship broken, a brotherhood burned. In the end, Hogan won, but no one left untouched. Savage came out of it as a more layered, more respected star. And Hogan's legacy? It got more complicated and more interesting. This feud was the first time many fans saw just how real wrestling emotions could feel. It wasn't just about the belt, it was about trust, betrayal, and everything that comes with it. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, legacy versus corruption. One fought with hustle, the other fought with fear. When Bray Wyatt locked eyes on John Cena in 2014, it wasn't about championships, it was about something deeper, the very core of Cena's character. Wyatt wasn't just aiming to beat Cena in the ring, he wanted to break him, to strip away the image of the perfect, clean-cut hero and reveal the darkness beneath. At WrestleMania 30, the atmosphere was electric and split down the middle. Wyatt preached chaos. Cena stood firm, unshaken. Then came the moment that defined everything. Cena, holding a steel chair, hesitated. Instead of giving in to the rage Wyatt wanted him to unleash, he chose restraint. That moment wasn't just a choice, it was the beginning of the battle for Cena's soul. But the rivalry didn't end there. At WrestleMania 36, the mind games intensified in the Firefly Funhouse match. Bray Wyatt didn't need to use physical violence to win. He used Cena's own past against him, taking Cena through a surreal journey of his career. It wasn't about strength anymore. It was about vulnerability. Cena cracked. Wyatt versus Cena wasn't just a rivalry. It was a clash of ideals. It was about questioning the idea of a hero, exposing the cracks in that shiny exterior, and turning every moment into psychological warfare. Edge versus The Undertaker, the war that closed an era. One was obsessed with gold, the other with legacy. Edge versus The Undertaker wasn't just a feud. It was a battle of obsession, manipulation, and relentless mind games. This wasn't about a simple title chase. It was a dark journey into madness, where Edge, with La Familia by his side, made it his mission to destroy Undertaker's undefeated streak, and maybe even his soul. Their first clash at WrestleMania 24 was a classic, with near misses and heart-stopping moments. Every reversal, every near fall, was a testament to the desperation of both men. But in the end, the dead man emerged victorious, keeping his undefeated streak intact. But Edge wasn't done. The war didn't end there. The rivalry escalated to a brutal confrontation at SummerSlam, where Hell in a Cell became their final battleground. The stakes couldn't have been higher, and the drama was off the charts. Edge was speared through flames, quite literally consumed by the fire of his obsession. This rivalry pushed Edge to his absolute darkest, most dangerous form, while giving The Undertaker one of his most memorable and cinematic wars. It wasn't about who won, it was about how far one man was willing to go to finally break the dead man's legendary streak. Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. Brotherhood shattered from brothers to bitter enemies. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose were brothers in arms, tearing through WWE as part of the Shield. But when Rollins turned on Ambrose, driving a steel chair into his back, it wasn't just the end of a faction, it was the destruction of trust. That moment sparked one of the most personal rivalries in modern WWE history. What followed were some of the wildest and most unpredictable matches in WWE. From brutal falls, count anywhere brawls, to vicious ladder wars, it was chaos at its best. Rollins, once the Shield's architect, had now become the traitor. Ambrose, the lunatic, was on a mission for justice. Every fight felt real, like raw emotion spilled out in every punch. But what made this rivalry stand out was that beneath all the violence, there was still history. What began as brotherhood turned into bitter war, but the bond was never truly broken. In the end, this rivalry allowed both men to step out of the Shield's shadow. Rollins proved he could lead on his own, while Ambrose showed he was capable of standing alone. This wasn't just a breakup, it was a test of identity. Both men emerged from it stronger, proving their place in WWE without relying on the Shield they once shared. The Rock vs. Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania's greatest rivalry, charisma versus chaos. Two icons, one unforgettable trilogy. This wasn't just a feud, it was the heart of the Attitude Era. Stone Cold Steve Austin was the rebellious anti-hero, doing things his way and defying authority at every turn. The Rock, on the other hand, was the corporate-backed star who turned into the people's champion. Together, they didn't just headline events, they helped define an entire generation of wrestling. They faced off at WrestleMania 3 times, 15, 7, and 19. Each match marked a turning point. At 15, it was all about dominance. At X7, we saw the shocking twist, Austin's heel turn after that brutal chair shot. And then at 19, it was Austin's farewell, with The Rock finally claiming the win fans had been waiting for. In the ring, it was a masterclass in timing, power, and psychology. And outside the ring, their promos were pure gold. The fans still quote them to this day. Every encounter between them felt like a big fight, even when there was no title on the line. Without Austin, The Rock wouldn't be the legend he is today, and without The Rock, Austin's reign at the top would have been shorter-lived. This wasn't just a rivalry, it was the driving force behind an entire era. These rivalries weren't just about winning or losing. They shaped WWE history. Each one told a story of betrayal, ambition, and legacy. From brothers turning against each other to legends battling for the top spot, these moments will be remembered for years to come. WWE is all about the stories, and these rivalries are some of the best to ever be told.